Clarizza Singson is here. You saw her in the film as well. Worked closely with Zara Alvarez and Isha Ramos, right? Other human rights advocates there. So she's a longtime human rights advocate with Karapatan and also part of Justice for Zara Alvarez movement. So Ate Clarissa, welcome. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and spending time with us. So maybe you can just share a little bit about your reflection or additions about the film, and maybe we can give time later for people if they have any questions for you. So, Ate Clarissa.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for also having me in this film screening and discussion. The film is very personal, no? For me. Um, with our work in Karapatan Negros, which is also monitoring and documenting human rights abuses and violations, we documented not much of the extrajudicial campaign killings on the campaign of war on drugs, but more of the extrajudicial killings with political affiliations. These victims were members, leaders of different people's organizations, but that of the same manner of Uplan Tukhang, no? The planting of evidences to justify the arrest or killing, no? They even launched Uplan Sauron. If you know the Lord of the Rings, Uplan Sauron, which is a synchronized enhanced police managing police operation. It's a joint military and police operation being conducted in the whole island of Negros, specifically, most especially in the oriental side of Negros, which more of the series of killings happened because of this Uplan Sauron, no? And this really resulted to series of killings among the enlisted targets. So we can say that it is really state sanctioned, no? Unlike what Parlade is saying that they don't know and there's no such thing as state-sanctioned killing, but it is really a state-sanctioned killing because one, it is perpetrated by the state agents, or maybe there's a hired gunman riding in tandem, hitmen like the Duterte Death Squad, no, the DDS, which we believe that's the one who killed Zara Alvarez. Maybe a paramilitary group who executes people without any accountability. So it is the culture of impunity that encourages senseless killings. Even before this happened, even before the anti-terror law, no, was passed in Negros, which became Negros is a laboratory, no, it's a laboratory of all the counterinsurgency program, which is also patterned in the U.S. counterinsurgency guide, no, and this program and policies were being piloted mainly in Negros Island, since Negros Island was named as one of the top priority when it comes to the counterinsurgency program. Because here in Negros, if you don't know yet, there's really a very exploitative and oppressive character of the hacienda system. So there's really hunger and poverty who haunts the majority of the people because of landlessness. So there's really a growing struggle of the peasants to own the land they till, no, and to struggle for a decent job and humane wages, no. So there's really an ongoing and a growing people's resistance because of the extreme poverty and the crisis we are facing. So that's the reason why all of this crisis that was never resolved, no, of the government breeds people's resistance. That's why Negros became the top priority when it comes to the counterinsurgency program. And decades and decades now that they want to crush the revolutionary movement, the Communist Party of the Philippines, CPP, NPA. They targeted defenseless civilian and unarmed, no, uh, people's organizations, leaders and members of people's organizations who became their vulnerable targets because we are just here, no? We are in the people's organization. We go to the offices every day. We were just around the corner doing some protest actions and doing our campaigns. So they targeted all critics, activists, and political dissenters. So with the declaration of Memorandum 32, which is placing Negros Island in under the state of emergency without necessarily declaring martial law, and the formation of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or the NTF-NCAC, through the Executive Order 70. This also really resulted to massive gross human rights violations. Extrajudicial killings of Negros, we just documented, reached already 90 victims, and Sara Alvarez was the latest victim. And even with the crackdown, they raided 7 of our offices, the Gabriela office, Bayan, KMU, Karapatan, and NFSW offices were being raided last October 31, 2019, no? And they arrested 57 of our leaders and members, and some were still languishing in different jails. We have this massive illegal arrest because they also piloted, fabricated, and trump up charges, no? So they arrested, we have more than hundreds being arrested, and now we have still 100 political prisoners presently detained, Negros alone, in different jails all over the island. So these numbers really proves the systematic attacks not only to human rights, but to people's democratic rights in general. So it is very intensified, the militarization and military operations in peasant communities. That's why Sagay Massacre happened, no? Sagay Massacre happened. And the Sempo killings, no? The December 27 killing in Gihulngan, and the 14 farmers being killed in Canlaon City, which was shown in the film, no? So all of this, the vilification campaign, our faces being posted in different posters and tarpaulins, being posted in public places, public markets, in city halls, in bus stations, just like we are treated just like wanted people, criminals, no? So they post our pictures together with Sara Alvarez, Attorney Ben Ramos, Councilor Toto Patigas, and some others, some NFSW leaders, and some Bayan leaders. So we were there in the posters. So it's just not empty threats, no? It really poses danger to our lives because our colleagues here are getting killed, and death threats, no? Actually, it's like unending, no? Every day, every week. Um, just a few minutes after Sara Alvarez got killed, I already received death threats saying that I am the next. Even before Sagay Massacre happened, even days after Attorney Ben got killed, because I just spoke to Attorney Ben few hours away he was shot, as well as Sara 3 hours ago. We were talking on the phone before she was shot that evening. That's why I'm so shocked. And I received series of death threats every day and every week. 4 hours after Toto Patigas was killed, I also received the same death threats. And we also received death threats containing 10 persons saying that this is their target of liquidation, meaning these were the people they were targeting to kill, no, in the island of Negros. So it includes leaders of Karapatan, me, Bayan, etc. So it keeps coming. So if you say red tagging, vilification, death threats, it's just like eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. So it's in this very hard situation that we are in, but it is also our task to unmask the true terrorist, unmasking the true enemy of the people. While they tag people like human rights defenders and development workers, health workers, human rights lawyers to as being legal fronts of the CPP NPA and declared as terrorists, but we are unmasking who is spreading terror among the people. So it is very timely for us that we have to value our democratic rights now more than ever. And maybe it's still a resounding call. There is a resounding call for our Filipinos to fight for genuine democracy, freedom, and sovereignty, while the Duterte government imprisoned, arrests, and killed its people, especially human rights defenders. He gives full pardon to the murderer Pemberton, and he himself is a murderer, no? So I will end maybe my speech with a united people is our best chance in resolving the crisis and moving forward in the struggle for meaningful reforms, genuine transformation. So we continue to unite and we continue to call for justice, justice for Zara Alvarez, justice for Randy Ichanis, justice to all victims of extrajudicial killings, and justice to all victims of human rights violations in the island of Negros and in the whole of the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you, Ate Claring. I'm so sorry to hear about Zara and all your friends who were killed there. It must be a very, very tough time there. And you're still fighting, you're still here. So thank you for taking time with us. Um, I also want to open it up for questions. If people have any questions, either raise your hand or put it in the chat, maybe, or even just like messages of support. Ate Clarissa is very clear, no, that unity, we have to also organize, and that's our most powerful weapon against this dictatorship. Um, does anyone want to say something or have questions?
I have a question. Yes, this is Cha.
Okay, sige Ate Cha.
Yeah, may not be, it's a question in general with the situation in the Philippines. Parang, it's not like nawawala na ako ng pag-asa, pero it's, since the 80s, ito na yung nangyayari. Or 70s, or even beyond that. During the Marcos regime, itong mga ginagawa nila sa mga mahihirap na mga kababayan natin, yun ang kayang targetin eh. Mula sa drugs at saka sa communism na tagging. Pero my question is, anong level na ng, like, there has been a lot of awareness. Anong level na ng support or how was it with, dito sa US tayo yung nagpa-pump ng information sa mga lawmakers na hindi isusupport yung anti-terror law uh, of the Duterte regime. But it feels like there is a lull because a lot of people are dying in the Philippines, and at the same time, we're also struggling to stop it, so to speak. Pero my question is, paano, ano pa ang pwede natin gawin to, to help our kababayans and to really raise this kind of awareness? Nasaan na yung, where are those people, the foreign journalists, the human rights, international human rights, when Duterte asked them to stop or threatened to kill them, were they, did they heed to what Duterte said na, he's gonna kill them? And so There were no more human rights, international human rights, um, what they call this, investigators in the Philippines. It was a lot during the anti-drug, the war on drug. But this time, he shifted to terrorism. So I just want to know what happened. I mean, up to what level are we now? Are we just, in, I mean, the film is really angering me. If I can have, if I can only call Davao and tell Sarah Duterte, your father is evil, but, at the same time, I'm crying. So let me, if you can tell me what is, what is going on in terms of our campaigns, did we have a lot of, kasi parang
Should we
it's
go?
dying down, and it's too much to, I want to know because I want to be energized again.
Thank you,
I'm
Ate.
sorry.
See, Ate Clarissa, you wanna answer that? So like, where are we at in the organizing against all this, right?
Yeah, I think ganun din, same question din kami eh. Kasi with the COVID thing, yung pandemic, so we were being restricted, no? Ang movements natin were being restricted. Sabi ko nga, maybe if walang pandemic, walang pandemya, we could flood the streets again. Pero dahil always may nakaamba that you'll get arrested because of the quarantine protocols and all, and our movements were being restricted. So that's why we really maximize this online gathering and sharing even our meetings, because we cannot even no we can even meet no and gather. But for me, it is also a very challenging time na kailangan wag huminto. It is a challenge for us also to keep enlighten people, to keep organizing people, uh, to to still go and push through with our campaigns, especially now calling for justice and stop the killing campaigns, because uh, the culture of impunity really, no, the culture of impunity really encourages these senseless killings. Kaya even journalists and press people were being subjected to harassments. Pinasara nga ang ABS-CBN and other, no, just like what happened to Maria Risa and all. But it is also a challenge for us how to speak out, no. I know it is a fearsome time, no. Yung sinasabi ko na nakakatakot, pero kasi it really poses danger to our lives. Isa lang naman buhay natin eh. Kami kahit ilang years nang nakakatanggap ng death threat at parang everyday, it's like everyday. Pero may chilling effect din siya. Hindi lang sa akin, kundi sa marami pang mga aktivista. Dahil kausap mo lang few hours ago, mamamatay, no? Pero sinasabi ko na it's also a time na we have to stand up, we have to speak out, we have to defy, we have to resist, and we have to fight back. Kasi hindi pwedeng we are all sitting ducks waiting for our turn, no? Gaya sa amin dito. So we're really launching a stronger campaign now for justice, not only for justice, but the campaign to stop the killings. And September, I think we assigned the month of September to be the Global Day of Action, or Global Month. I don't know what it is. No, it's the month of protest and action globally, internationally, to bring these issues. Maganda kasi din itong venue and platform na ito, bringing the issues of the regions and the Philippines to international community. Kasi it both inspires people from international community to support our campaign, and at the same time, it also inspires us and motivate us that we are not alone in this struggle. So it may be somehow, it somehow really helps, no, on our part. And that's why we continue to organize. We have to continue organizing, and we have to continue our campaigns and mobilize people in different platforms, in different venues that we can, so we can put pressure. We can do a lot of things. We can hold protest actions. We can write even to embassies, and to even legislators, and even to the Philippine government regarding this. So whatever venue, and in whatever forms that we can support this campaign, the Stop the Attacks campaign and Stop the Killings campaign, I think we should push through. Ah, madilim masakit, and sometimes wala nang hope. We think we are hopeless. Pero if we think of the people, especially here in Negros, na those peasants, those communities, voiceless people, their human rights and their rights are being trampled by this government, and patuloy silang nagiging biktima. You have there's no point of turning your back. There's no point of stopping. Wala walang lugar ang walang lugar ang takot at ang paghinto, kundi kailangan lang nating lumaban. We really have to fight back to survive.
And it's really inspiring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I think, thank you, Ate Clarissa. I think Alina also has their hands raised. You want to say something?
Hi, Clarice. I have a question. So I work mainly with immigration and racial justice. So, with the government committing atrocities on its people, who will defend the Filipino immigrants and expat workers, since they have been facing human rights violations outside Philippines? Are you guys actually taking charge of this, or is this going to be pretty much avoided at all because of the whole thing that's happening in Philippines?
Maybe, do you want me to help answer that, Ate? Or okay. So I guess just to add to that, syempre, like, to acknowledge that there's a lot of stuff happening in the Philippines, and they also have to focus on, different aspects. There's other organizations focusing on migrants organizing. So there's Migrante International really working on the rights and welfare of OFW, and they're also here in the U.S. Over here in San Diego, I don't know if you're from San Diego, but Anak Bayan also helps with some immigration cases, and so yeah, there's it's really hard here in the U.S. I think that's another dimension is we have to address the issues here, the attacks of the government on our community, on Filipino immigrants, and then trying to also support and address like the what's happening in the Philippines. So yeah, that's really a lot of work for organizing here, and we could use as much help as we can if anyone here is wants to be part of organizations. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, not to take away the conversation from what's happening in Philippines. To me, it's just an extension because his Duterte's law says that even if you're not in Philippines, he'll still target those folks. Even if you're not living on the land, he can still come and assassinate you or drag you and bring you back to court. Things like that. So to me, it's just an extension of what's happening in Philippines.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. There's also the attacks on the activists here is also a whole other dimension. And so like, a united fight against Duterte, definitely. Unless Ate Clarissa, if you have any additions to that, you're welcome. Okay na. Does anyone else have questions? Just raise your hand or just feel free to unmute. We're not too big, so I think that's okay. Um, So some people have, just been thank you, Ate Clarissa, for the work, and appreciating your message. Um, Anyone else? Or even like comments or thoughts about what Ate has shared. Ate is like older sister in Tagalog or in the Philippines. Not. I'll also ask Ate Clarissa. Yeah, just or is there someone who want to say something? Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Ate Clarissa. I think the message is very clear now that we, you know, obviously in the Philippines you don't have a choice. Like you really have to fight and just not be sitting and waiting for your turn. But I think that's also a lot, a lot of responsibility like for us to take on too to support our fellow Filipinos who are really facing danger to their lives like every day. We don't know what can happen, right? And so, as Ate said, like a united organized fight will really help even abroad and really bringing these issues from the local provinces. Back then, no, when there's not a lot of technology, it's probably much harder during the Marcos dictatorship. No, like you can't just have a Zoom call and just talk directly like this. And so that's something different now and something we should maximize. Spread the story. If you have a group of friends you want to have this screening with, or if you want, to join, I think we have some calls to action. But I want to ask Ate one last time if you have any last words you want to share with people here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think we will still launch our Justice for Zara Alvarez movement and the Defend Negros campaign. It's a network of individuals and different organizations from different sectors who calls to put a stop to the killings and attacks of people's democratic rights here in Negros. So Defend Negros Island. So we will put Negros Island. Maybe you can, maybe others can misinterpret this into Negros as black. So defend it's maybe sometimes they ask me it's just like the Black Lives Matter defend Negros. No, it's defend Negros Island. It's an island in the Philippines where we are living, so it's part of the region in the Philippines. So we have this defend Negros campaign. So once again we really have to ano, we really have to encourage especially the youth to go active with our campaign and support our campaign, especially with our campaigns in the Philippines to stop the killings in the Philippines, to stop the attacks. And we should continue. Padayon in our local language. Paitlata.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ate, for your time. I know you have like other meetings to attend, but we really appreciate you spending time with us. And just to add about Negros, like Negros historically really has a rich history of resistance. And there's a documentary actually talking about the resistance of farm workers to the haciendas that maybe I'll share to email with all of you who registered. So you can also see like what are these people fighting for, right? Like why are they really under attack? So it's important to understand that too. So again, thank you, Ate Clarissa. We have some slides for others. You can go now, Ate, for your other meetings. But for the others, we have some call to actions on what here what we can do. I think people are already asking that. So Calvin, versus me.
Right, yeah. Oh, no, here you go. Sure. So, just to wrap things up. So, of course, now that we've watched the video, we've heard Ate Clarissa speak. Hopefully, it has ignited a sort of fire in y'all's hearts to try and take action and trying to, yeah, take action and try and help Ate Clarissa and everyone else in the Philippines, in Negros, who are suffering from this regime. So first, foremost, really plugging our organization, Malaya Movement. Again, we are based here in America, but we stand for, but we, our fight is with the people in the Philippines, with people like Ate Clarissa, with all of those victims that we've seen in the documentary and that has been mentioned throughout tonight's session. So if y'all are interested, we will be having a new member orientation on Thursday evening. You can, it's the same time as right now. You can, there you go. So I dropped the RSVP link in the chat. So if you are interested in joining Malaya and finding out more about us and what we do in order to support the fight back home in the Philippines, you can go ahead and join us on Thursday night, 7:30 to 8 p.m. Um, could you go back to the previous slide, Erica? Right. So we will also be having a martial law commemoration event. So essentially, well, actually, yes, would you like to speak more about this?
Sure. I think so there's two things happening depending on your availability and capacity, right? So we want as many people as possible to participate in commemorating Marcos's declaration of martial law, which was September 21, 1972, right? Many, many years ago. But really caused a lot of human rights violations, killings, torture, and arrests, and which we're seeing a lot of right now. So we want to make that connection. So on September 20, there is going to be an in-person vigil in National City for those of you here in San Diego. I believe Anak Bayan and maybe Puso, or I think Anak Bayan is helping lead that, right? And Malaya in Southern California is holding kind of a hybrid vigil and open mic, a solemn open mic online on the evening of September 21st. So, yeah, maybe just send us a message if you're interested. Follow us on Instagram. So, Malaya Movement San Diego, right? In Facebook and Instagram. If you want to know more about that, we'll probably send a follow up email too. And again, for those, like something really tangible too is we have, you want to talk about this, Calvin?
Right, yeah. So one of the main objectives of our org Malaya is is to support the Philippine Human Rights Act. So the Philippine Human Rights Act it's a bill in Congress. It's about to be a bill in Congress that aims to stop all of the money that the United States government sends to the Philippine police and military. So um, all of the yeah. So every year, the United States government sends over $100 million in foreign aid to the Philippine government, to the Philippine police and the armed forces. And as we've seen in the documentary, and as we've heard from Ate Clarizza, you know the things that the military and the police are doing with these funds. So we want to stop this flow of money from the United States to the Philippines, and we can do that through supporting the Philippine Human Rights Act. So you can find out more about this if you join our new member orientation on Thursday. But basically, what y'all can do right now is you can contact your local representatives, ask them to support the Philippine Human Rights Act when it is introduced into Congress. Yeah, just bug all of your representatives, your senators, your city council people, um, anyone you know that may have a position of power, ask them to come out in support of the Philippine Human Rights Act, and that's something that is very easy to do. But it has a lot of it has a very big effect. That's a very significant effect. So with that, that will be it for tonight. Pias, would you like to end with any parting words?
Sure. I mean, just quickly to add, if you're not able to attend the orientation for Malaya Movement on Thursday, we can also organize, just contact you and have that for you in a time that works. So we just want to welcome everyone at all capacities, like, and any amount of help, like small or big, is going to help. We just need everyone's support at this point. So thank you all for your time. Feel free to add additional comments in the chat, but we really appreciate having you all here, watching that movie with us, remembering Zara and all the other martyrs in the Philippines, and other organizers. So thank you, and we'll send your messages to Ate Clarissa too and thank her again. So thank you so much. We'll see each other hopefully online or on the streets. Have a good night.